Hi guys, this is a really condensed version of the video I did previously in relation to the Easter Chick bags. So while I was on Pinterest when I was sick with COVID, I found a whole bunch of things that I really liked, and this was one of the things that I thought I could totally make this on the Cricut. So I jumped over to the blog and had a quick squizzy, and it was done by a lady called Crystal who has a blog which, when we click on it, is no longer available. So fingers crossed she's doing great and still crafting. But if you want, you can scroll all the way down and there is a pattern available once it all loads with so many apps. So there is a pattern available, and you can right click on this, save it as a JPEG, convert it over with one of those converting programs and convert it into a SVG if you want, or you can jump over to Cricut and use the link that I have for the one that I've done made with Cricut images. So let's jump over to Cricut and I will show you what I've made. Okay, so I'm in Design Space now, and this is the project that I've created using the same concept as the free pattern by Make It and Love It. So you could have, by all means, downloaded the image, sent it over, converted it, cleaned it up in Cricut Design Space. But to me, it made so much more sense to sort of honour her design, but also make it easier to cut out and not have to muck about with converting and cleaning up and trimming down or anything else like that. So I used a square and elongated it to make the backing piece, and the little wings, the little feet and the little nose came from these two ducks. So this duck here has the wings and the sitting chick has the feet, the eyes and the beak, and that's where we've got this from. I also added some extra length to the feet, as you can see here. I added some extra length because when we sew those up, we're going to need that little bit of extra length for turning, and also so we can sew it into the seams. So let's have a closer look. Now, the file I've created already has a 6mm or 1/4 inch seam already in the allowance. If you're going to use felt, for example, you need to use the offset feature and take away that seam allowance. So you can just grab a little piece and you can slide it down here if you like. There we go. So there's your wing as it should be. So that's with the seam allowance for if you're going to be doing the 1/4 inch seam around this edge and then turning it out, and this is your wing without the allowance. So you would only need 2 of these wings, and then you need to do the same for the feet. Otherwise, we're good to go. So my suggestion is, this is just as information, just in case you want to make any alterations or move anything around. Perhaps you want to pop in a name at the belly or something along those lines. So you can take away the writing, we don't need those anymore. Use the little eyeball feature, and then send it over to the machine to cut as many of the pieces as you want. So this I will do in iron-on, and the black eyes are also doing iron-on. And then you've got the fabric for the yellow for the bag and the orange for the feet and the wings. I used 60 centimetres, so that's 2 widths of fabric, 30 centimetre by width of fabric cuts of yellow, and 1 30 centimetre by width of fabric cut of the orange, and I got 12 bags, which I think is quite a lot of bags. And that's pretty exciting. I think I'm using Prima Homespun from Spotlight. I think I spent about $6 on fabric all up, $6-7. So let's go ahead. You can change here how many you want to make. You're going to use your broderie cutter and your pink fabric mat, and we'll come back after we've cut everything out. Okay, so I've cut out my pieces and I've got enough to make 12 bags. My wings, my feet and my bags all ready to go. What I'm going to do first up is hem my rectangle pieces. Hem them whichever way you find easier. I like to run an overlock stitch and then turn the overlock stitch over. I know some people use fancy feet, or some people like to do a 1/4 inch iron and then they flip that up and hem it. There's plenty of space there for you to do your hemming. So we're going to hem these ones, all of them, all 4 edges we're going to hem, and then we are going to do a 1/4 inch seam on our wings, 2 wings together and 1/4 inch seam, leaving this edge here, the flat edge here, open so that we can turn, and then the same with the feet, 2 together, 1/4 inch seam from here all the way around and leaving this side open. Don't backstitch on these pieces because I've put extra in there to allow for that little opening for you to turn this one out, and sometimes it's easier if you haven't backstitched to close these ones in tight. So I don't backstitch, I chain stitch all of these, and when I go to turn it, some of them will come apart a little bit, but I've actually allowed, I think I put in like a whole inch extra in here so that you can trim off any fluff that comes in it, and you'll also have a 1/4 inch for your seam. Okie dokie, so let's get that done. So I have my pieces with my 1/4 inch seam on my wings or my feet, and I have all of my hemmed rectangles, and now I need to turn these out. The wings are really easy to turn out, but the feet are going to be somewhat more difficult, and you may need a turning tool or a paintbrush handle. Okay, so there's the little wings nice and easy to turn out. The little foot is going to be harder because the opening isn't as big. So I'm going to turn these out, and then I'm going to press my wings, my feet and my bags, and we will come back and start the next step. Okay, so they're all pressed and my wings and feet are all turned out, and I have my nice big pile here. I ended up getting quite a few, and I'm going to take a fabric marker. Now I could have done this in the Cricut. The reason I didn't do this in the Cricut was that I only want a tiny mark, and I want the tiny mark to be on my seam allowance so that it's hidden after we sew the top bit. So we're going to make the channel for the drawstring, and to do that we're going to turn one of our pieces upside down so we can see our seam allowance and see our little hem that we've done, and we're going to, from one end, measure 14 centimeters. So we're not really concerned with how deep this is. On average it'll be around 4 centimeters, 4.5 centimeters. The thing is that this is going to get absorbed into that channel where we're going to sew along here, and that's going to be our drawstring. But if we have the 14 centimeters from the base of each bag will be, once the drawstring's in, each bag will have a length of 14 centimeters plus the drawstring. So continue to do this with all of them, and then when you finish that, we're going to join all of these pieces. So we're going to fold down this top edge to our piece here. And we're going to run a stitch right along that hem stitch line right there, and that makes a drawstring channel. And then once we've done that, we can move on to attaching the bag piece with the wings and the legs. Okay, so these have all been measured, and I've done the seam right there against all of those. So the next step is to take our pieces and put right sides together like this. We're going to remove this just for the moment, and we're going to line up our pieces. So little chick wing, the lightest curve goes to the outside, but realistically, creative license is completely up to you. You can change that as you like. Now, if you tilt your wings down like this, when you do your flip, the wing will actually be pointing up. So this is something to take into account, and we want to have it so that this raw edge is past this. Because when we go to do our seam, which will be this one, we're actually going to sew on the inside of this, and as you can see, that's going to trap all that frayed bit here, and then down here, and then down here. So we're going to sew from here all the way down, across, and then back up to this bit. And we're being careful not to encroach on our channel for our drawstring. Then we can fold our bag inside out and it'll be done. Okay, so we'll come back when we've finished. Okay, so I have sewn around the edges of all of these, and I've already trimmed these ones, but I thought I'd show you how I'm doing it. So I'm just pulling back that seam, grabbing my pinking shears, and I'm just giving it a little trim. And it gets hidden in the seam, and the pinking shears helps it to stop from flying. So I just pull back the seam, grab my pinking shears, and trim it down. And I can do these ones as well if they hang out. This is the reason why I chose this one, because this winking does hang out a little bit. Okay, and then the same with the pinking shears, and then it's ready to be turned inside out. So I just grab the feet to make it easier. If you wanted this to sit flat, you'd need to trim your corners, and to do that you just making sure not to cut too close to where your seam is, but just to tidy up those corners and to trim them a little bit. And then I'll give it a press, and then I will be ready to do the iron onto the front. Okay. I might need to trim a bit more of the corners just to get that square edge. But because I'm going to have these as little bags, and I'm going to move my scraps, I'm going to put my iron-on face on the front, and then I'll put a drawstring inside it as well, and then fill it with Easter eggs. I'm not too concerned about these little edges. So the next step would be to do the iron-on. I'll put up a picture of the ones that are finished. I have used the Cricut holographic sherbet sampler, and I used the lemon colour. And the lemon colour actually looked fantastic. Because it's holographic, it actually picked up a lot of the colours from around, and coupled with the yellow of the bag, it actually looked fantastic. I couldn't have chosen a better. Like, if I'd have done orange iron-on, I don't think it had looked as nice. So the holographic sherbet sampler is what I used, and I used the lemony colour out of that sampler. For the beak, and I just used black for the eyes, and then I've left enough space down the bottom here where I can pop a little name like Riley or Emma or something along those lines just in here. Okay, so that's the bags. This was just a really quick one. This one did not cover tips and tricks on how to smooth out fabric, or how to adjust your fabric or move things around on the mats. If you wanted that, that's in the more detailed video, which is already live on YouTube, and the link for the bag is in the description below. Have fun with it. I hope to see some of the ones that you guys make. If you make any, feel free to make them for sale. This isn't by no means, I'm not not precious about the pattern. The pattern was given freely by the original pattern designer, and I just replicated it in Cricut with Cricut images to make it nice and easy for everybody just to grab the image and go. Okay, have a wonderful afternoon. Happy crafting.